Good morning. It's Saturday, uh, May 27th to 36 a.m. 59 degrees outside. And I'm gonna take you on a little journey back to 1978. I started driving for Ace Cab back in 1978 and drove for 5 years. I am a mother of 3 and raised my nephew for about 14 years. During that time, I started dispatching part-time in 1983 and still drove for 2 years. And then I went to full-time dispatching. When I started dispatching, I worked 6 hours from midnight to 6 a.m. The telephone operator didn't start work until 8 o'clock. So after a couple of years of dispatching, and I stick around for a couple of hours until it was time to go home and wake my kids up for school. And I saw how busy it was. I mean, I know during the night I was the only one there to answer phones and dispatch, but it wasn't that busy. So I started staying to answer phones from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. I did it on my own time. I was just killing time. And I did that for a couple of years. And then one day RW come in and said, I can't let you sit there and answer phones anymore. And I thought, well, what did I do? Didn't do anything. And he said, not unless I pay you. So that was a relief. So I stayed every morning until 8 o'clock and answered phones. And then I'd go home and I'd sleep for a couple of hours and then wake up. Kids would be in school. So for a while I went in at 11 o'clock and drove to help out over the noon hour till about 1:30, and then I'd go home. So I'd be home when the kids got home from school. And I had a sleeping schedule of sleeping 4 hours before I went into work. And then when I come home, I'd sleep for another 4 hours maybe. And then if there was anything that we wanted to do, I was up. On weekends we did a lot of, besides going around and paying bills, we'd eat out or whatever. But we always spent time together. I had two girls that played on little leagues on Saturdays, and so I asked for Saturdays off. That way I could be there while they were playing. But sometimes I had to work, and I would take my lunch or whatever during the time that they were playing, so I could get them there and then be there to take them back home. We always were doing things together as a family. That was the best time of my life. My kids, my pride and joy, and Ace Cab became a family. I have watched most of my co-workers' kids grow up from babies. It's like being a family. They become your family. When I was at home, I was a mother, raising my kids by myself. And when I was at work, I was a totally different person. It was hard for me to go to work dispatching nights. My oldest daughter was 14, and then a 13-year-old. And Tina, I think, was 7, and my nephew was 6, I believe. But my dad told me that Tanya was old enough, to be able to watch him at night. And I had working there at the same time a brother-in-law, and he worked on the railroad as a turn cab driver or taking crews to their trains or whatever. And I had lived over there by the Conrail yards, so he was able to check on them whether they knew it or not, but he always checked around the house. But if I didn't have it in my mind, that being a different person at work, I didn't worry about my kids. If I would have had to worry about my kids being there at night, by themselves, a lot of things go through my head. So when I was at Ace Cab, I guess I didn't think about my kids. Not until I got out from work. But it was the best time of my life, and I loved working at Ace Cab. So many drivers come and go throughout the years. It was a different time. A slower pace. I don't know. It was just different. Now, the last part of my dispatching, the last 3 or 4 years, I had a part-time or a second shift dispatcher that had gotten sick and was in the hospital, and so I pulled a double for a week I pulled her shift and mine. The following week, I pulled half of her shift and somebody else worked the other half until she was able to come back to work. But I always enjoyed being there. I lost my dad when I was just starting to dispatch, and he was a big part of my life. And after I lost my dad, I found I was depending on the mechanics at Ace Cab to, you know, help me out with my car when it would break down. And it just, family. All of the telephone operators or dispatchers, they're like family. And they're still like family today. If it wasn't for Facebook, I wouldn't be able to keep track of everybody. And I don't know, I like doing YouTube. But there's a lot of, since I can't get out anymore and do a lot of things, it's hard to come up with something. Unless it's somebody's birthday or we lose somebody. Or I give shout outs. But this is probably the longest video that I'll probably have. But when I wake up at night, and I may watch some videos, but then I sit and I think about the past and how much everybody, you know, meant to me. And I just wanted to say that my little journey back in time, and tell you a little bit more about myself. And you guys take care, and God bless, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.